Is it just me, or does it seem to you too like we as Americans are getting dumber and dumber with each passing day? I mean, what happened to our country? What's happened to our culture? Well, there is an explanation that was posted across the news services a couple of days ago, and it says this. Perhaps you saw the article or read it yourself. Stress can literally shrink your brain, new study finds. Stress and want a good reason to decompress? Maintaining a healthy blood pressure is a given. But now you have another reason to do whatever it takes to relax. A recent study finds chilling out isn't just an indulgence. According to researchers, stress not only impairs the memory, but actually decreases the size of a brain. The study, published in the journal Neurology, comes after researchers studied 2,200 middle-aged participants in the famous Framingham Heart Study. In addition to finding a correlation between high levels of stress hormone cortisol with memory impairment, the researchers also found via MRI scans that those with heightened cortisol decreased in brain volume. In our quest to understand cognitive aging, one of the factors attracting significant interest and concern is the increasing stress of modern life. And it goes on to say that stress actually literally shrinks your brain. We are a culture, as you know, that is stressed out. And to no little degree, the stress is due to, well, things like our political tensions in this nation. The country, as you know, is polarized, opinionated, and divided like perhaps never before since the Civil War. And people are constantly being fed, we're constantly being fed things that reinforce our reason to be stressed, concerned, upset, angry. No matter what side of the divide one might be on, people are stressed. You can just sense it. You can feel it. You can hear it if you're tuned in at all to news broadcasts or internet feeds or whatever it might be. People are angry, upset, distrustful. Two sides that don't see eye to eye, obviously. The stress levels rise. The brain shrinks. People are dumber and dumber on both sides of the divide, frankly. We're all affected by this, you see. Well, here's the solution to our present government shutdown, reopening, wall, no wall, Trump, Pelosi, whatever it might be. Here's the solution. I've often said over the years in our study through the Bible, where we are is where we are. And at this time where politics and cultural stuff is at the forefront continually, I thought, man, when I opened up to this week's section, of course, perfect. It's dealing with the issue of the day, Romans chapter 13. Check this out. It's quite incredible. I'm asking you to give this fresh thought and listen through fresh ears. The Apostle Paul, writing about our duty as believers, our behavior as believers, here in the last chapters, 12 through 16 of Romans, says this concerning our behavior, concerning our duty. Let every soul, verse 1, be subject unto the higher powers. Now, we're not talking New Age crystal kinds of things. He's literally talking about authorities governmentally, those that are in power, those that are in places and positions of authority. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers. For there is no power or no authority but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. People are in the position that they're in, whether it's our Oregon governor or our national president. Probably you're not going to like them both equally, depending on what side of the divide you're on. But anyone in any position of authority or power has been put there by God. What? That can't be. Not our governor or not our president. Every person is in position as an ordained plan of God. God has put every authority, whether it's our mayor, whether it's our state representative, whether it's our senator, our governor, our president, Supreme Court justices, because they seem to be the ultimate authority in these days, whatever. They're all of them under a higher court, one that's truly in control, and that is God himself. Now, check this out. This is shocking. Let every soul be subject unto higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. Whoever therefore resisteth the power. Any of you involved in the resist movement? Whoever resists the power resists the ordinance of God. And they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. Or literally, in this case, condemnation. You're going to be condemned. You're going to have problems. You're going to get stressed. You're going to be upset and angry. There's even greater prices if you violate the law, as we shall see. Rulers, verse 3, those in authority politically, law enforcement agencies, or your boss at work, or your husband at home, or your parents. Rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. These people are put in those places, those positions, sovereignly according to God's grand plan, and they're there for a purpose, to keep evil in check. Whether it be the evil of lawlessness in crime, or whether it be on the other side of the coin, so to speak, well, the inequalities that take place in our nation, in our society today. Is it right that the 26 richest people in the world, the 26 richest people, mostly Americans, have more than the lower 50% of the world's population combined? Take half the world, put all their resources, assets together, and then take 26 billionaires. These 26 billionaires have more than half the world's population combined. Is that right? Is that the way that God would have it to be? Well, the richest man in the world, we read yesterday, the richest man in the world, who's an American, I won't use his name, he lives in Seattle. He gave less than 0.1% to any kind of charitable work. A guy that makes multiplied millions of dollars a day gave less than 0.1% to any kind of charitable work. Is that right? Well, there are people that are in politics that would say that's not right. We might not want to put their bumper sticker on our car. We might not want to vote for them. there are people on that side of the divide that say there's huge problems where capitalism has gone crazy. Greed and selfishness and avarice has gone out of control. That needs to be brought in. The other side says that kind of overreach by government will thwart creativity and innovation. But it's an interesting thing to me that whether it's our governor, who's very liberal, or our president, who is our president, it's an interesting thing to realize they're put there for a purpose, or our sheriff in the county, or the chief of police in Grants Pass or Medford. Everybody is in play for a purpose. Now, God here says they're not there to terrorize you, but they're there for good works. Wilt thou, verse 3, then not be afraid of the authority they have? Do that which is good. Just do good, Paul says to believers. And thou shalt have praise of the same. If you're just doing good, not breaking laws, not ranting and raving angrily as you listen to your 7th hour of talk radio, you just do good. You be good. You are good. You do good. You're going to have praise of the same. Of who? Of whoever is in authority. Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal. Just be a good guy. Love God and be good. That's what that's what the Word of God is declaring. If you do that which is good, thou shalt have praise of the same. For he, the one who's in authority or enforces the law, is a minister, verse 4, of God to thee for good. He or she is actually in a position of ministry. Oh, not a pastor kind of person or a priest of liturgy, but they're serving the purposes of God. But if you do, verse 4, what is evil, then be afraid. For he that beareth not the sword in vain, he is the minister of God, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. Wherefore, ye must needs be submitted to, not only for wrath, but also for conscience sake. For conscience sake, just, hey, do good and realize that every person in any position of authority is there because, listen, God is on the throne. A couple of things that I really hope that remind us of truth. God is on the throne, number one. God is on the throne. It's not President Trump or Senator Bernie Sanders. It's not Chief Justice John Paul Roberts or Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Whatever side you're on, whatever sides there might be, God is on the throne. In Psalm 75, it talks about this. Psalm 75, verse 6 says, promotion does not come from the east, nor the west, nor the south, but it is the Lord that raises up one, talking about leaders, and puts down the other. That's what Paul is saying here. God puts people in positions. They're there because God ordained it to be, you see. Promotion doesn't come from this political shenanigans or from that political endeavor. It comes from God. In John chapter 19, you might recall Pontius Pilate was saying to Jesus Christ, are you not going to answer me? Don't you know, John 19, I have the authority to take your life? Jesus said, you have no authority at all, but only what the Father giveth. You think, Pontius Pilate, you're flying this plane. You're piloting this plane. You're not. You have no authority at all. It's God that is in control of this event. What you're doing, as evil as it might be, it's not you. It's God who's calling the shots, you see. Interesting. Jesus said, it's not you at all, Pontius. It's God who's in heaven. So God is on the throne. That's got to be understood. And that defangs a lot of stress and bitterness and concern and ulcering and anger and all the rest. God, you're on the throne. Number two, prophecy is being fulfilled. Prophecy is being fulfilled. That is why in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 7, verse 16 and 11, verse 4, God said to Jeremiah, quit praying for these people, the Jewish people. They're going to Babylon. They're going to be carted away. They're going to be carried off as captives. It has been prophesied. It's part of my plan for them. I know you're praying, Jeremiah, but you're praying against my will when you're praying for them to not be carted off or carried away, the country to crash. It's going to take that, God would say. It's going to take the crashing of this country, the captivity of my people, 70 years in Babylon, to heal them permanently from their propensity to be sucked into idolatry. It's going to take a crash and burn to do this. Prophecy is being fulfilled. God's always at work. You might say, well, what do you mean? Certain things have to happen before the Lord comes back. Prophecies abundant in the scriptures have already given a very real outline of the events that must take place. And who are we to say, well, you know, I'm ticked off because this guy's president or that gal's governor or these folks are in power. We got to say, God, you're on the throne, and prophecies are being fulfilled. Things are lining up perfectly according to your plan. And I'm just going to rest in that. I'm going to trust in that. They're there because God put them there. Peter takes it a step further. Peter says this. Peter says in his first epistle, he says, honor the king. Paul says, submit to those in authority. Paul told his young protege Timothy in 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 1, to pray with thanksgiving for the king. Who was the king that Paul was under, that Peter said to honor? Caesar Nero. He was a bad guy who put Christians in sheepskins and fed them to lions, who dipped them in hot wax, still alive, dipping them in hot wax until they died in the middle of boiling wax, pulled them out, and then used them as human candles to light his garden at night, while he rode in his chariot, stark naked, shrieking, Christians are the light of the world, ha ha ha, as they were burning in his gardens. You think Trump is bad? Or Hillary's a mess, whatever side you're on. Paul is writing these words at a time when Caesar Nero is in power. Peter says, honor the king when Nero was on the throne. Never is there a hint, well, man, get mad at them, be critical of them, and see if you can overthrow them. Never. Well, John, are you saying that Caesar Nero or Nebuchadnezzar in Daniel's day or Pharaoh in Moses' time, Joseph's time? What are you saying? It's all part of a plan. And watch how Daniel responds to Nebuchadnezzar. He honors him and says, when bad news was given to Nebuchadnezzar, because of his pride, he was told he would be in power for only so long. To contradict that dream that he had interpreted by Daniel, he said, no way, I'm building a wall. No, not a wall, I'm building a statue. I'm building a statue, solid gold, because it's going to go directly against the dream that said only the head would be gold, the arms would then be silver, the belly would be brass, the legs iron, 4 successive empires. No, I'm going to build my own statue. Gold from head to toe. It's going to be 60 feet high and 6 feet wide, or 60 cubits high and 6 cubits wide. 666. And yet, Daniel defers to him and says, oh, may the dream that you now had after that you're going to be cut down and live like an animal for 7 years, oh, may that not be. May that be to your worst enemy. When you read these guys in the Old Testament, or you read Paul and Peter and Jesus and others in the New, it's amazing what deference they show, not compromising morality. I want to make that clear. But showing respect for the office, the position the person is in. Like they say in the military, you salute the uniform, not the person. Well, I don't like that colonel. Tough. He's a colonel. I'm down on that general. Sorry, if you don't salute him, dude, you're going to be peeling a lot of potatoes. He's the general. You salute the uniform. You honor the king. You honor the position. You honor the people in authority. You might not care for their personality. You might not agree with their politics, perhaps, you see, but you realize they're there because God put them there. For what? Maybe to fulfill prophecy. You mean we're supposed to be praying for with thanksgiving, 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 1, praying for with thanksgiving the king, even if the king is Caesar Nero? Yes. Or Adolf Hitler. What? You're getting old and senile, Pastor Jon. Adolf Hitler was put in position for prophetic reasons of God's sovereign plan. There would never have been a nation Israel, a modern nation. In 1948, when the UN barely passed the right for Israel to come into existence, it was only barely passed because it was coming on the tail end of a horrible event called World War II and the Holocaust. 6 million Jews killed. It was all part of God's plan. Israel had to be a nation, rebirthed, reborn, according to multitudinous prophecies, according to God's end time plan, you see. And it took that kind of atrocity to cause the world to say, let's give the Jew a break. The world never gives Jews breaks. But after World War II, the whole world was feeling guilty for good reason. Countries knew that they could have done something to save people at Auschwitz or Treblinka, but ignored that. Lots of story there. I can't go into it now. But just do your homework. Our own government failing to respond to the pleas of those that broke out of Auschwitz, saying, bomb the camp, blow it up, stop this madness. And we said, we can't spare the planes. Just do your homework. It took Hitler. You say, whoa, wait a minute, Jon, wait, hold on. Are you suggesting that it took that kind of a guy to be empowered to bring about the birth of Israel, the Jewish homeland, to fulfill yes. And I also know this because I love Israel and I love the Jewish people. I'm a big fan for lots of reasons. And knowing the Jewish people like I do, let me tell you something. This is an opinion, but it's correct. If you were to ask 6 million Jews before World War II, before Adolf Hitler, would you lay down your life if it meant that your people could have a homeland, their homeland, restored? Absolutely, hands down, without question. You would have way more than 6 million would say, I would lay down my life if that could mean at last our people could have a homeland and freedom and safety and liberty. I'm all in. It's not just our patriots, our Patrick Henrys, who say, give me liberty or give me death. The Jewish people have their patriots, and proved so. I could spend hours telling you stories. Well, wait a minute. Maybe, possibly that's correct. Maybe there might be 6 million Jews that would lay down their lives if a nation could be birthed, and that's what did happen. 6 million Jews were fried in those ovens. But what about the kids? Oh, go to Israel. Go through Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Museum. Perhaps the most moving part of that whole museum is the children's hall, when you walk into a dark room that's lit by 1 million candles. Oh, it's only one candle actually, but the light is bounced off mirror after mirror until you have about 1 million points of light. And as you walk in, all that you hear is a single voice reading in English, in Hebrew, in Polish, in German, in Russian. The names of those kids, 1 million kids, Jewish kids killed in the Holocaust. And I recoil at that, and it horrifies my heart on one hand. On the other hand, God is sovereign, in control, on the throne, is always good. How many of those 1 million kids, if they grew up and lived to be 70, actually 80, 70 is getting really close for me, lived to be 80, how many of those kids would have accepted Yeshua, Jesus Christ, as their Lord and Savior? I suggest to you, statistically, a very small percentage. But the Bible indicates very clearly that if a person dies before the age of accountability, they are ushered into heaven. We go, this is horrible. It is horrible. Don't misunderstand me. But God says, you don't see the full story, perhaps. I scooped up 1 million Jewish kids and ushered them right into heaven, whereas had they lived out their lives, they wouldn't have been there. Well, what about the adults then, John? All I know is the Bible teaches that there are degrees of difficulty in hell, and there are rewards in heaven, depending on what we do, what we go through. God's fair, God's good. But I'm telling you that no one on the other side of eternity in heaven is scratching their head saying, that wasn't fair. Everybody is saying, righteous and true are your judgments, Lord. So you know what? If Trump wins re-election, praise the Lord. If Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez continues her climb using Trump's tactics, outrageousness, and she might win the presidency, praise the Lord. God's on the throne, he's in control. Let me add this point 3 or point 5 or whatever point we're on. You're saying it's pointless. Let me add this too. I'm convinced the older I get, the longer I live, I'm convinced that politically, in these ways, everybody is half right and half wrong. In fact, I'm convinced that things I say that aren't this scripture directly, I'm half right and I'm half wrong. I just don't know which half is wrong. That's the problem. I think it's all right. People are half right and half wrong. This is a big, big thing, I think, if one understands this. Don't be so stinking cocky. You don't see the full picture. I don't see the full picture. Now, praise the Lord for his word. It's in the word we see the full picture. If it says, don't murder, don't murder. If it says, love one another, love one another. If it says, put away lying, put away lying. But on all of these political, philosophical, economical arguments, I think if you live long enough, you'll begin to say, you know what? When my guys won elections, things weren't all that great. When the other guys won elections, it wasn't as bad as my side tried to make it. My point is, you know what? People are half right and half wrong. And I've been through enough administrations presidentially And I've lived life long enough now to say it ultimately doesn't matter all that much what's going on in Washington, D.C. or Salem. Don't let it stress you out. In fact, turn it off. The best advice I could give to you as one who's gone through this, turn off the radio and shut down the computer. As it relates to information, InfoWars, or Hannity, or Rush Limbaugh, or the other side, which I don't know much about because I only listen to this side. You know what? If you want to be totally stress-free, quit listening to this stuff. Quit reading these things. Just honor the king, whether it's Barack Obama or whether it's Donald Trump. Just honor the king. Pray for them with thanksgiving. Realize that God is having his way. Prophecies are being fulfilled. Things are being set up, even in Adolf Hitler's day. And that our injunction is to be submitted, to be kind, to be prayerful with thanksgiving for all those in authority. They're God's ministers. Shocking as that seems. All of a sudden, I must admit here, I'm kind of out there on thin ice anyway. What a lot of people took offense at, I found absolutely delightful personally. When Melania Trump wore a army fatigue jacket, this was several months ago, on the back in graffiti lettering, and it caused a great stir in political circles. In the back, it was painted on graffiti-like. It was made that way. I don't really care. Do you? You might have seen the stories and heard all the feedback from the other side or this side or whatever side. The more I think about it, I want to get one of those coats. I don't really care. Do you? In other words, that's not our concern. What? The things of this world, the political fights, the divisions, the anger, the causticity, the toxicity, the opinions. It will increase your anxiety. It'll shrink your brain. And that's why these talk show hosts end up where they do. Their brains are shrunk. Stay away from shrunken heads. Say, you know what? That's just, should we give taxes to Caesar or not? Hey, do you have a coin, anybody? Whose head is on this? Caesar? Well, just give it to Caesar. Give yourself to God. Just don't get involved in Caesar's stuff, is what Jesus was teaching his people. I don't like where taxes are going. Well, whose head is on the dollar bill? Washington. Then give it to Washington. In fact, that's the next verse. I won't go there right now, but pay tribute, pay taxes, it says. Pay your taxes. We'll talk about that Wednesday night. The position is to be respected. Prophecy is being fulfilled. Everybody's basically, my theory, half right, half wrong. This is not my theory, it's biblical theology. God is on the throne. He put that person there. Which person? Where? Any person, anywhere who's in authority, God put them there, you see. Here's a simple test to find out how we're really doing. Do you pray with the same heart in the same way for our present president as you did our previous president? Maybe you're a fan of Barack Obama, and you were just praying, oh, Lord, bless his family, bless his girls, Lord. Give him the courage to stand for what he stands for. Thank you for putting an African American in that place of power to help our culture perhaps heal a bit better. Were you praying that kind of prayer, or were you saying, Lord, he's a Muslim, take him out? Lord, I don't even know if those are really his kids or not, or whatever else is being said. I heard about him in Chicago. Whatever else you thought of or heard about, he wasn't even born in this land. Is that my attitude? And now I say, oh Lord, bless President Trump. Oh Lord, he wants to restore this country and make America great again. And Melania's such a pretty lady. And Lord, his kids are getting picked. I'm simply saying, how do you pray for this president, Barack Obama, versus this president, Donald Trump? Or vice versa. In other words, you'll know you're where you should be if you pray with the same kind of blessing and thanksgiving and kindness, regardless of who is in power. You're to honor the king. You're to pray for those in authority over you. That's what the Bible says. Read your Bible. Honor the king. Peter said, the king that would crucify him upside down, by the way. Honor the king. And he says, respect the position that he's in. He's God's man, Paul says. It was that same king that ordered Paul's execution. See, I'm closing, I really am. Here's the thing. We are so blessed. Why? Because we understand that God is in control of everything. No need to get worked up. No need to get angry. No need to be caustic. No need to be cynical. No need to have a shrunken brain. Because we can simply say, Lord, you're on the throne. Promotion does not come from the east, nor the west, nor the south. It is the Lord that sets up one and puts down the other. Whether it's Nebuchadnezzar or Pharaoh or Adolf Hitler or Hillary Clinton. I didn't mean to include her in that category. I'm just saying whoever it might be, whoever it is, or whoever it's not. God puts people for his purposes. For what reason? To take care of the half, the 50% that you and I are blind to, don't understand. To fulfill Bible prophecy. To get this country, perhaps we need to go through hard times to bring us back to God again. I don't know. We need something, that's for sure. God is on the throne. And I leave you with this. You might say, I could care less about politics. I don't get your jokes. I find this very boring. Whatever it is. The same principle applies in every area of life. Quit complaining. Again, about your parents, about your husband, about your foreman, about your coach, about your boss, about your governor. Just bless people and pray for them the way that you would like to be prayed for. And decompress. Growing up, I've told you before, you know how much news we had every day growing up in the 50s? 15 minutes of news at 6 o'clock at night was it. That includes weather and sports. National news was 15 minutes long. It was a lot less stress than constantly being inundated with sensationalized stories and propaganda from both sides, and people trying to manipulate us for one reason or another, economically, politically, whatever it might be. Listen, the Bible says, study to to be quiet. Learn to be quiet. When people think of you, do they think, there is a guy or a gal who's at peace and quiet? Or do they think of you or me as there's somebody that's stressed out and really angry and just totally charged up all the time, and I get tired just being around her or him or them? May God make me, I'm preaching to myself. May God make you and me people that say, our kingdom is not of this world. I don't really care. Do you? Make that your theme concerning all things temporal, political. I don't really care. In the sense of I'm not going to get worked up about it and try and keep informed constantly as it relates to those things. Jesus said, if my kingdom was of this world, my disciples would fight. Our Lord said, if my kingdom was of this world, my disciples would fight. But my kingdom is not of this world. And they're not going to fight. Romans chapter 13. Be in submission to all that are in authority, because God has put them there. Oh, one more verse. I'm sorry. You know, in the book of Jude, it talks about false teachers, false preachers, false believers who speak with swelling words and are clouds without water and speak evil of dignitaries. Read Jude chapter 1. And then he says this interesting, enigmatic thing. Whereas even Michael, the archangel, durst not bring an accusation against Satan, but said, the Lord rebuke thee. What? The archangel, Michael, having a conversation with Lucifer, Satan, the fallen angel, didn't speak evil against him. Durst not bring an accusation against him, but said, the Lord take care of you. Wouldn't it be wonderful if that's the way we lived? The Lord take care of him, her, them. The Lord's on the throne. He did not rebuke in anger. He did not take authority in his own name, you see. He simply said, the Lord rebuke thee. The Lord take care of you, Satan. The Lord will take care of anybody and everybody. So we just pray, Lord, you take care of this. Lord, you have your way. For me, I'm going to trust, and I'm done. I'm going to trust, I really am. I'm going to trust in your sweet, sweet, sweet sovereignty. You're in control. You're on the throne. You're having your way. And you'll just go, you'll be relaxing, at rest. In fact, a lot of you are already falling asleep even now. It's working perfectly. Just rest. Study to be quiet. Understand that God is indeed on the throne in every situation. Right? Right. Or half right? Half right. God is on the throne, and that's the truth.